I don't know how many of you ladies are going through menopause like me. I don't know if you're going through it. Once your period is stopped, is that a fit like what does that mean? What is the proper lingo? But anyways, if I don't have my progesterone when I sleep, I can't really sleep anymore. I've got all like the getting all the hormones regulated. But some mornings, can you kind of see my magic mind? Some mornings I need it more than others. This morning I do. Some mornings I've just had a really restless sleep. And I don't know if I'm picking up on the energies of the universe and it has nothing to do with menopause. I don't know if we watched I'm recording this during the Stanley Cup finals. And so I was up late watching hockey, calling my dad, who didn't answer. I'm like, Dad, come on, I want to share this moment. Anyways, just really grateful to be able to start my day with this delicious. I love it that it's delicious. I love that it gives me energy that's like smooth, not like jittery. I love that it supports my immune system. And I love that I've just created such a little witch's brew here. I put all my ginger, my cinnamon, and I've added other things to it, my creatine powder, my collagen, my trace minerals, and I just pack it all in. And I start my day feeling amazing. And so I'm thinking about, as we go into menopause with my delicious, beautiful friend, colleague, coach, Allana Pratt method coach, client, Kristina. And the dogs are going to go for a walk now. So, you see them? Really, little guys. I'm just thinking about this wonderful podcast you're about to see. And you can really hear the difference. When she first started working with me, she was coming right out of a 25-year marriage, having to change everything, move, still take care of the daughters, find her way. And she's super, super smart lady, but had so much of her life, she had relied on her mind to get her places. And she'd hit a ceiling. And it was time to evolve to the next level of living from her body and her heart and her soul. And we can't get in there and hear our intuition, hear our instincts, know what we know until we get through integrating all the wounds that we so easily can just stay busy and avoid, or use our mind and talk our way into things and out of things, which she was doing. And so, gosh, she's so brave and so amazing as she shares her journey from head to heart, from single to falling madly in love with herself, to living her best life with her vocation, to dating men that honor her and respect her because she honors and respects herself. And that how it's trickling into the lives of her daughters. One of her daughters is now engaged and they went shopping for the wedding dress, just like all the things. She's so proud. I'm so proud and honored to call her a dear sister and friend and have her on the team as an Allana Pratt method coach. So enjoy this amazing podcast. Welcome to Intimate Conversations. Become the one. Intimacy is an inside job. Hello, delicious people. Welcome to another episode of Intimate Conversations, Season 12, Become the One. And this month we are talking about one of my Allana Pratt method processes. It's called the Theater of Redemption. I think it's probably the one I'm most infamous for. I don't know famous for, but infamous for. It's quite a doozer of a process. Definitely politically incorrect. However, it is wonderful to turn anger that in this society we're not really allowed to feel. We're made wrong for feeling, or we misuse it and then we feel shamed, or we stuff it and we get depressed. But if you can open your heart and open wide as the anger is arising, what happens is it turns into fierce love. And we're going to be talking with one of my favorite people on the planet, Kristina Adams. She is a dear friend, a dear sister. She is an Allana Pratt method coach. She is a beloved client. I'm going to tell you all about her bio first. And then we're going to get away to the races with a really delicious conversation. So thank you, sweetheart, for being here today. I'm so grateful for you.
My pleasure.
So Kristina met me 4 years ago, and she was in the middle of a divorce after a 26-year marriage, and she was an empty nester. She's the mother of 2 daughters, and she was navigating the loss of both of her parents, and she was doing her best to hold things together by staying busy and pushing down her emotions of loss and sadness,
loneliness, rejection. Professionally, Kristina is badass. She is a consultant and change agent that doesn't back down from the hard issues. And she's spent 3 decades working with senior level leaders in the federal government to build and implement a cleanup practice to address contamination in the National Park Service. OMG. As I said before, she's a certified Allana Pratt method coach and is currently embarking on another big change professionally, exploring how to marry her coaching skills with her 25 plus years in leadership development and organizational change. And on the relationship front, Kristina is doing the work to become her own beloved partner first. That's right, gentlemen, she's single. And in this journey of growth, she has had a few beautiful relationships, weathered the highs and lows, and is now wide open and ready for her beloved partner. And she feeds her soul by being in nature with people who she loves the most, or even simultaneously. And in her free time, you can find her hiking in the beautiful Colorado mountains where she lives. Hi.
Hi. Oh my gosh, what a great treat to be here.
Thank you. And thank you for encapsulating our journey together. I love this ability to introduce you personally, professionally, romantically, soulfully, spiritually, the whole thing. So remind me how you even know I exist and you blessed my life and came into this world, this community, and my heart.
Oh, okay. Well, it started with I had separated from my husband and at the time and was on a journey of going through a divorce. And at some point I decided, you know what? I think I want to date. I think I want to figure out what this dating is. 26 years of marriage, didn't really know what I was doing with dating anymore. Everything had changed. Online dating wasn't even a thing before. So I was listening to a relationship coach at the time on a podcast, and she interviewed you. And you were, and I recall, because I walk a lot around the mountains, I recall listening. I wasn't watching, so I didn't see you. I heard you only. And what you said to her about having to become the one to find the one and to go to the hard places, and how you were dropping into your feminine, your masculine energy. And I was like, what's that? That sounds interesting and exciting. And so then I looked you up online, went back into my house, looked you up, saw that for, a minimal amount of money, I could meet with your person at the time and see if this would work. And one thing that sealed it for me is I got a video from you that was very personal.
Yeah.
And you, in that, I don't know, it was maybe 5 minutes max, but you are who you are. You're such this huge charismatic persona, but you're also so real and authentic in the inside. And then you saw me. You watched that interview and you saw me. And I was like, okay, this is different. This is different than anything else that I've ever done. And I've never been in coaching. I went to a lot of different meetings, group meetings, to be able to go through the divorce. I met with a psychologist 3 times to understand what was going on. He basically said, I don't think you need talk therapy or a psychologist. I think you're doing all right. But when I met you, I realized there's talk therapy, and then there's dropping into your body, connecting, and really going into the stuff that was keeping me from being bigger, brighter, having my own value, seeing my own value, and living an inside out life instead of an outside in life. And that's what I had been taught to do, is to go from the outside in. So that's how I met you. And then it was just from there, it was like, oh, damn, hell yeah. Sign me up.
It's a for everything now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And what was
Thank
that,
you.
4 years ago, Allana?
I think so. Yeah.
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 And here I am.
I love this. Thank you. I'm remembering when I first met you and you came on the first calls, and then I think all the way through to the coach training, and I think all the way through to the PSI we did, and I think all the way through to just like an hour ago on our coach's call. I'm thinking through of my different drives as I drove from, Wyoming to North Carolina and then South Carolina, and I would call you, things you were going through, things I were going through, and just you are always willing to own it. You're always willing to feel it. And you're always willing to show up. And you're also willing to take care of yourself. Like have healthier boundaries to say, no, I need a weekend for me. I'm staying in with my heart, or I'm going to the mountains or what have you. What has it been like for 4 years that you've learned the Allana Pratt method processes? You coach my staff, and we've gone to this most recent thing that I've been doing over the last year or so, year and a half, these PSIs. Tell us a little bit more about, as you drank more Kool-Aid and you've stayed in the community and hung around with me more. What have you been learning about you?
Layers are dropping off.
Yeah.
And I realized how much wasn't me. So I've gotten to know me. I heard years ago, there was being asleep, there was waking up in life, then there's being enlivened, and then there's enlightenment.
Oh, say that one more time. Say that one more time. That's really beautiful.
It was
So
there's being asleep, people asleep that just, yeah. And then there's people that are moving into waking up.
Okay.
And then there's enlivened.
Yeah.
And then there's enlightenment. And any sort of spiritual practice. I came from a Christian background. Enlightenment is where we wanted to be. That was where the divine was. So there was always something else to be in that. For me, I had no idea. It was all inside.
Right?
The divine is here.
Yep.
The divine is there. The divine is all through.
Yes.
I could feel it, but I didn't know quite how to do it. In religious structures that I was in, I'm very grateful for them. I'm very grateful for what I've learned, but I've outgrown it. I've outgrown those structures.
Yeah.
And I use the religious structure as just one. There's so many other layers of me. There is the structure of what I thought a mother should be.
Right.
There is the structure of what I thought a lover should be.
Right.
And how I should show up as a pretty princess in work. Right. And when everything started breaking down to who I really was, and I started going from, I wasn't completely asleep, but I'm now alive and I am moving right into enlightenment.
Oh, hell yeah.
Wow. I'm not thinking about what everybody else is going to say about me or think about me or do for me. I get to just be me. And in Christianity, it was be still and know that I am God, right there. That's it. Be still is hard. Be still. When you are living in your brain and you were living in this, and that, as you would put in my intro, and I told you, it's like, I'm just busy. I work all the time. I have 2 kids, beautiful. I'm in a marriage. I have a dog. I have a cat. I have ailing parents on both ends, and I'm just busy. And I lost myself, or I never really found myself. I don't know what it is. I'm still in the evolution of Kristina, but along the way, as I find myself, it's so beautiful because I could see my daughters trying to find themselves, and that they're my heart. Didn't know I was going to cry, but
we do that all the time. It's all good. Your vulnerability is such a gift. Thank you.
So for me, it was, if my daughters can be alive and enlivened and maybe enlightened because of what I've gone through, sign me up. So that's where I'm at. So thank you.
Thank you.
Did I answer your question? I think I was all over the place there. But
we're just dancing. We're just dancing.
Yeah.
What is it called? A White Claw. I wish I didn't have my.
I love my White Claws.
I have a glass of wine, but I have one more coaching call, so I've still got my coffee.
Some people say they're wimpy, but I love my White Claws.
You're awesome. I just remember us went on our Walmart run. When we did our PSI, we got all of our
Joshua
cereal.
Tree, California.
That's right. Let's go back to the daughters for a moment.
Yeah.
I'd say the moment I held my son in my arms and I looked at him, it was like, oh, I'm going to do everything I can to be a woman of patience, presence, and playfulness, pleasure. Like, I'm going to do that for you. I had no idea that a 13-year custody battle was going to ensue. My mother had just died, but he was always my inspiration. I could not look in his eyes. It was like I was looking in my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to be my best self for him. So tell us how you've seen through entrainment, through osmosis, through watching mama grow. Like, what have you watched? How have they changed? How are they looking at life differently? How can you see that the work is passing through to them?
Every day it's a new thing. What I'm finding, I think, to sum it up short without doing a lot of story, they know who the fuck they are. Wow. From the generationals that I came from, I loved my mom. I loved my grandmother, but it always felt like there was a man to complete them.
Yeah.
There was the personas to put on.
Yeah.
My daughters own who the fuck they are.
As Kristina does.
Well, and they teach me.
Yeah.
They're teaching
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
In all humility, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they go through their bumps and their bruises and their hard times and their fears and their deep wounds because they've been wounded. And being a mother on the other end of being part of what might have wounded them, through a divorce, so you can't help but they are going to be hurt by that. But what I see them doing is owning it in the way they can and know that they're loved and supported by me 100%.
Thank you.
So I've learned to do that. And it's interesting, in all of my dear friends who are women who are out there, we really want to protect our kids to the point where we could stunt their growth because we want them in that little protected box, right?
Yep.
Want them to get the right job, to find the right man, to do all those things, right?
Right.
Weigh the right weight, be as pretty as they should be, all that stuff. But what I'm finding is I am letting go of all those because those were about me. It was about my fear of them reflecting on me.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's vulnerable. Thank you.
Done with that. I know when I'm doing it and I zip it and I extricate myself and then I come back. I'm not always good at it. I'm still a work in progress, as we all are. But it's beautiful to be able to share that in my circle of women friends.
Yeah.
I'm in my 50s, grew up in the 80s, we just pull up our bootstraps and we make everybody feel like we're doing good on the outside. That's what we did. That's what we were taught in my culture, in my life, in my generation. That's what I learned.
And stuff away
okay,
how you really feel.
Broken and hurt, have bad days, to go into a dark night of the soul where you might just be laying fetal in your closet and crying. Yeah. Because on the other side of that, you love big. And you can do big change. Like, going into, for me, it's the environment. I've always loved the environment. So I can go into the environment and do things because I did it here first. And I can hold room for other human beings to be vulnerable and want to do this big work. And everybody does their big work. I mean, my gosh, so many people that are just I know so many people that are doing great things. But when you be the great first in here, it just kind of starts happening easier out there, in my opinion.
I'm the one.
Yeah. And it is hard work. And boy, I fail at it every day.
Tell me what it's like, and we can make it about anger, the theme turning anger into fierce love, or it could be sadness, it could be shame, it could be self-hatred, it could be anger itself. Tell me a bit about what it's like to learn to feel to learn to stay in your body, to learn to actually integrate an emotion to the other side. And some of the freedom you've felt from actually being able to do that now and teach others, guide others.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to start with a story of when the first time at the Theater of Redemption, I did that on a group call. And you walked me through it.
Did I? I can't even remember. That's
First
4
of all,
years ago when you started. Wow.
I was surprised as hell as this pretty princess was going to just be like all vulnerable and show you my ugly spots.
Yeah, your dark
But you
spots.
invited me in, and it was such a beautiful community. And I knew I was held. And you worked a little process with me, and I had to go deep with some anger, some shame of males in my life.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know I had that deep of an anger, because when I was telling you earlier that I just bypassed everything, got busy,
Yeah.
I didn't let myself go there.
Yeah.
So that was the first time in a breath. And I've gotten better over the last 4 years to train myself to get into my body quicker.
Yeah.
And it's helping me to help others, companion others to get in their body quicker.
Yeah.
But when you go in your body and you're connecting that brain, that beautiful brain that can spin, and you stay expanded in the heart, and you go into your seat of your soul, and you're that conduit all the way through, that anger gets really big and really painful and really ouchy for 60 seconds.
Yeah.
And then there's a miracle happens, and you get on the other side of it. And then you go up and you go to that thought, and you're like, oh God, I forgot about what I was even angry at. And then, but it is a process, and you go through it over and over again. But for me, on the other side was the ability that at the same measure of anger, it's the same measure of love for that which maybe even made you angry.
Right. Right. Your values, your integrity, your honesty, your truth.
Yeah. And to me, that was the sweet spot of that in between. And I think is for me, and what I'm seeing in the people that I get to coach or the people I get to companion, is when it's hard to want to go into that place because it's so damn painful.
Scary. Yeah.
Yeah. But that in between is the magic and the alchemy to go to the next place. And you taught me that in a lot of ways, through the processes, through working it. And I'm not afraid of it anymore. I'm not afraid of being in my body and going to those places. Yeah. So
what a freedom to not be afraid to feel.
Yeah.
How has that we don't need to obviously name names or any of that kind of stuff, but you've had some relationships since we've met each other, and you didn't I was remembering one gentleman who didn't like it when you felt feelings. He preferred it when you squished them. And then this has evolved where you're attracting people that are more open and receptive, even inspired by your capacity to feel feelings. How has your journey gone with feeling emotions around masculine partners? How has that evolved for you?
It's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
What I'm noticing is as I grow in the inside, that which tolerates me on the outside changes. And it's not a good thing or a bad thing, but it changes. I have lost some people in my life that when I'm around them, I'm bad. And I think when one expands, it invites others to do that. Sometimes subconsciously, they don't even know.
Yeah.
But somehow they're uncomfortable. Somehow they're not in a good place. And there's a push against. And and intimacy and relationships with men have been really interesting for me, because what I attract at the beginning, and I feel like and I don't mean this in an egoic way, but I'm growing fast.
Yeah.
So what I attract 1 month, in 6 months, if I'm doing a trajectory of this and they're doing a trajectory of this, pretty soon we're not walking together, we're doing this.
Yes, yes.
And there has to be a readiness, a willingness, and an invitation And so for me, it's been a navigation now that I'm getting more and more expanded to not push what I am on to others.
Yeah.
And also to notice when, it's just probably time to move on, because this is just, I am just going to go back and default to where I was before in the marriage, which is nothing against my ex-husband, but it was that I was growing and not getting met. So I kept dumbing myself down, quieting myself down, doing less than. So I'm going to be unapologetically myself. And I say that with strength, knowing that tomorrow I might falter, but I say that with strength. And I'm getting to know myself. And some days it's going to match with the man that maybe I'm with, and some days it doesn't. And when you start doing the math and there's more days that it doesn't work, you just move on, right?
You bless them and release them.
Yeah, because there's no fixing other people. The only thing we get to control is this. This is all it's been hard. And I'm gonna get teary again because
Tell me.
these men are beautiful men in my life, including my ex-husband. And I will love them forever. But then you move on. So I'm getting teary on this interview, but
I
it's
love
real.
you. I love you, honey, for being so brave and real.
Yeah, thank you.
What do the tears want to let us know about releasing those men? What are the tears saying?
So grateful.
Wow.
So
Tears of
much
gratitude.
For every one of them.
All the lessons.
All the lessons, all the strength that I have now, and the blessings that I pour on them every day. Yeah.
Wow. So like the theme of the interview with turning anger into fierce love.
Yeah.
You were a little pissed at a few of them.
I was.
And you've done the
And
work.
look where I'm at now. I'm crying.
In tears of gratitude.
Yeah.
How are you better from integrating your fury, rage, anger at them and self into this tearful gratitude? What does it look like? How are you better?
I'm compassionate. Yet I don't give over my agency. And it feels like I can be soft and strong at the same time now. And yeah, all the apologies that needed to be made, I think were made. And I don't live an apologetic life anymore. And yet I'm humble and I cry and I'm emotional.
Yeah.
But I'm also quite alive.
Yeah. Tell us about any anger itself that you had to face, feel, integrate, and how it's turned into fierce love of self.
Yeah, I anger at myself for allowing things to go too long, or like I said before, my agency, when I said that was so strong, because I've had to work to get to that place.
Yeah.
I was always at fault. I always made myself at fault for something to go wrong. I actually do it at work sometimes. So, not anymore. I mean, I can feel it. And the love is fierce for myself, but I'm not angry anymore. When it comes to a lot of the old stuff, I'll get angry about new stuff, but I used to hold that anger. I used to hold it and allow it to just kind of
self-hatred anger.
Yeah. And it kind of defined me. There were some definitions of that for my own self.
Like a martyr victim kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Playing the victim, or probably lots of different places with that. Manipulating, justifying the manipulations and things like that, I vulnerably say that I've done. And, when you go through those places, on the other side becomes freedom.
Totally.
And you don't continue to run the real story, that belief.
Yep.
To just pin yourself where you think you need to be because you don't deserve or you're not valuable enough for the other thing.
Yeah.
Really coming to grips that I'm enough and I have value and
Yeah.
I can move forward. Yeah.
How can you explain the difference between, so there was self-hatred or anger itself, martyr, victim, etc. And then there's this thing called ownership that's required to feel the feeling, stay in the body, let the alchemy transmutation occur into this sense of tears of gratitude or self-love or what have you. How did you shift? Maybe this process, maybe another process, maybe in your Allana Pratt method training, maybe in the PSI we did. I'm not really sure. I'm curious, honestly. How did you shift out of hating of self, criticism of self, into ownership? Okay, I'm going to own this, but not hate myself anymore. And that to me is a portal opening to allow for transformation and growth. How did that happen for you? Because you don't go from like self-hatred to everything's fine. Like that's a bypass.
Oh, no. 4 years of processing.
Yeah, right.
4 years of processing. And when I went through the coaching certification with you,
Yeah.
We had a group of people and we were processing all week long, sometimes 6 times. So
Wow.
it wasn't only being processed by a coach, but processing others.
Yeah.
I was able to just start. It's like I don't know why I'm thinking of this. It's like when they roto-rooter your heart out and they take out all the plaque. The process, pretty soon the flow starts happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can recognize it quicker. It doesn't mean that it never comes up, the emotions or going from anger to fierce love, that anger never comes up again. It just means that it's usually on another level in another way.
Yeah.
You get better and better and better about owning your own shit, pretty much is what it's down to. And not projecting it onto others, not transferring it onto the blame game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Been there, done that. Trying to do it less.
So true for me too. I want to ask about, so we've been talking about the tougher stuff. We've been talking about like your beautiful tears of gratitude. How has your femininity, sensuality, goddess nature, your ability to be in your hips, your yoni, your sacred sensuality, how has that woken up? Like we don't normally think, well, I think I'll get angry and then feel really sexy. But like somehow this rotor-rooter allows for such divine energy to move through. And I think you're aging backwards personally since you've begun. So what's it been like to be a woman? We're both in our 50s, to do this work and feel fucking hot. How do you feel?
That's a really great question. I have to think for a minute. Where to start? So one of the things that happened, going vulnerable again, is this sexual intimacy was kind of out of my marriage. And I'm not blaming him or me. It's me probably more, is I just kept shutting everything down so that I could keep busy.
Yeah.
Keep busy. Just keep doing, and you don't need to have that. That's just for having babies. And I had 2 babies, whatever. What I didn't really realize and what I hadn't learned, that the sexual energy, when it is turned on, oh my God, it rejuvenates cells.
Yes.
It allows so much expansion. All of the things that, I thought were wrong and taboo in my old religious structure of being juicy and alive, those are all like day-to-day occurrences now. Because I reconnected. It's like if you think about how things are kind of broken and disjointed, when I started going through this process and opening up and dealing with all the things that were keeping me disjointed, everything started getting in line, and it's just like this conduit. Best sex, best feelings, I'm creative, I'm playful, I'm curious. Yeah, and I'm emotional, and yeah, and I'm also can be very heady. I can be very intellectual. I can
Yeah.
do hard things. And it's not even, I'm not even trying to justify it to tell everybody how great I am. I'm just saying I am alive and wide open, and that includes sexual energy.
Yeah.
Important for
Mm,
me.
mm,
It's,
mm.
it's like the nectar of life in some respects. It's like the seed of the soul is finally opened up.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you. And
Mm.
without needing to share any details, unless you want to, but you had to integrate some shit to get there in terms of your sexuality and your body. What would you say to a woman who's like, well, that's fine for her. She wasn't this, that, and the other, right?
Yeah.
What would
Yeah.
you say? Again, the only way through is through. And when we're gunked up, we can't feel this incredible juiciness just going for a hike, just, sipping our coffee, making
Yeah.
love, putting cream on our body, all the things, like everything is sensual when you're open to this divine energy flowing through you. What would you say to someone who's been through some stuff? How do these processes, and then maybe we can also move into the PSI, how do these processes and the use of psychedelic somatic integration work that I've been doing with clients and have gone through myself for years now, how does it integrate something you don't even know is in there?
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about, your point of view on that, your experience.
Yeah. Again, here I go. Get it vulnerable. Yeah, there was some abuse, and there was some choices around abortion. There was many things that I had just shoved down.
Yeah.
Um, and one was a choice and one was not.
Yeah.
And I
A
actually did
violation. Yeah.
the abuse was even there until it came up around the time that I divorced. And, it'd come up periodically, but I didn't realize I had more to do. Like, I always thought, well, you go to a religious structure, you meet with a pastor and they tell you you're fine, and then you're fine, and you shove it down.
Mm.
So that's what I was doing. But the last 4 years, I've walked right into it. And the shame, the little girl light that was turned off,
Yes.
um, the guilt, what did I do wrong?
Right. Self-blame. Yeah.
All of that stuff. Did I say stuff? Because it was a lot. And to go into each one of them is probably its own podcast because there's so much there.
Yeah.
But for me, it was allowing it to fully show up and waking up certain parts of my body. I mean, for the PSI, just to jump into that, I had no idea that was a couple months ago.
Yeah.
I've done 4 years of work. We're good. I didn't realize things were stuck in my body. Things were numb in my body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bad knee that needed replacement, blah, blah, all this stuff. But when you remove the emotionality and the stuck and the shame from those areas, things wake up.
And pain leaves.
Yeah. And I can still feel some of the stories coming. They still are there.
Mm.
Abuse is abuse, and some of these things are hard. And I've shoved down the whole sexuality thing for a lot of years. So I'm coming up and out of it. And I would say to every woman out there that thinks that the abuse or the choice that was made is your definition or your identity, go deeper.
Yeah.
It's a stuck wound. And these processes that I have learned from you, that I am doing myself, have allowed me to just pop that open a little bit more and get to know it. Because it's one aspect of me. It's not me completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I love this because we create identities, survival patterns. We disassociate, other energies get in our body. All sorts of things happen to survive, and good on us. We've survived.
Yeah.
And if we're on this path, it's time to thrive, and not as a bypass, but I always do the deeper roots, higher shoots kind of analogy. As we excavate more, the the light expands more, the pleasure, the healthy discernment to be safe inside, not need to control on the outside. All of these capacities begin to emerge. And I so respect your bravery. I so respect your tenacity to keep going. And I've done 30 at this point, counting now, PSIs, sitting with this particular use of the medicine to stay in our body in tier 1, not to leave. And I love what you're saying about the rewiring, because this is the beauty of these plant medicines. We only have that critical learning window when we're a little baby, when your first abuse happened, adolescent, close to the abortion time, right? Those are our learning windows. And then it's shut for the rest of our life until this beautiful use of tier 1 plant medicine that creates, dissolving the cellular matrix, that neuroplasticity. We've got a 2-week window of that critical learning window opens again. And we get to rewrite our stories. We get to have secure attachment with ourselves. We get to create a whole new relationship with our body. Our autonomic nervous system is back home. We don't keep disassociating. We get to rewrite history with ourselves. It is to me, it is the biggest gift. And I'm watching you do it. And I'm watching the way you interact with men or work or yourself or your daughters. And you're rewriting who you are, not like a creation, but like a homecoming. You're discovering who you are. What has it been like to no longer have that belief, or to have a new, no, this is totally possible. I never thought that was possible before, but I never thought I'd love myself, but I actually love myself. What have been some of the shifts in terms of how you see yourself and what is possible for you romantically and vocationally, that we've been working at this for a while, but you're tipping, you're in your reality. Yeah.
I think vocationally things are starting to change. And so I'm trying to figure out what that would look like. And there's less trying and more of allowing it to come to me.
Yeah.
That is so different. And it's so much easier, and it feels so much more like I'm co-creating it instead of forcing something. And I mean, I can probably go get a job tomorrow.
Sure.
And find something and just be right back to where I was.
Right.
But there's something about saying, just bring it. Let's see. And then I'll decide. And I get to, it's like that place of choice that feels really good for me. Yeah. And that's definitely new. Oh, that's definitely new.
Yeah. Because you've been in the government paycheck for decades.
Yeah. Yeah.
And source of money was the government, as opposed to source itself through the channel, many, many channels. It's a totally different way of looking at life.
And you're getting me right in process. So
yeah.
Even you saying that, I'm like, oh, I'm nervous. But I'll just keep showing up. And I think, romantically, what I'm finding is I always thought you needed that significant other to complete. Right? What I'm realizing is I'm a whole human being showing up with a whole human being.
Yeah.
And together we get to be devoted to one another, be in support of one another, provide all the safety and security, have fun, make amazing love, do all these great things together and grow and grow and grow and grow. And that growth is why we would be together. It isn't because I get to stump myself because you're not growing, or you get to use me and not grow, and all those things that I thought we were doing. That energy could get there, but in the end, if there's really good communication, that we're all into the growth, and we're not afraid to be alone, we're not afraid to show up and be ourselves. In fact, we're encouraged. It's like this is like this marrying of this male and female energy. And what I felt like I used to have to get from out there, this was the female, that was the male. What I realized is the female male is here. And when I'm marrying it nicely inside of my own self, that human being will come in. Yeah. And the other thing I'm realizing romantically is I always thought that one dude would do everything and be everything.
Yeah.
That guy's got to do everything for me. No. I
Yeah.
have a community of people.
Mhm.
I have a community. They all play different roles for me. And if I need a therapist, I go get a therapist. I don't use you to be my therapist and expect you to be my therapist, man I
Mhm.
love.
Mhm.
And so I know the difference, and I know the bright lines now more than I ever have, because it's like I said at the beginning, it's the inside out instead of the outside in. So
Mhm. Mm,
yeah.
mm.
So those
I
are the
love,
two things. Yeah,
yeah,
vocationally, stay tuned. I don't know where my career calling is taking me, but I'm excited. And that's, I think, the first right step.
totally. I remember you after our your PSI day one, you were friggin' on fire.
Was I?
You were on, go read your report of findings. You were massively on fire. You wrote down all these different ideas. You were cleared out, and all of the downloads, all of the inspiration, downloads were coming in, and intuition and instincts were arising. And
Mm,
um, yeah, the work works. We're not a one and done kind of
right.
person, right? We're here to grow individually, grow as sisters. In our
Yeah.
coaching community, we're here to grow with our partners, here to grow with our kids. We're just these, I sort of see it like a lotus flower, just always another petal opening, and not waiting for the outside, as you said, to be a certain way to feel okay on the inside. So I think maybe a beautiful, I could talk to you for hours, and I have talked to you for hours, but I'm just going to honor your time. I think a great place to end was something you said earlier, being okay alone, not being afraid of being alone, or being afraid of being alone and integrating the fear and then being okay alone. How has your journey been? Because you still choose partnership, right? How's
Oh,
your journey
absolutely.
been with being alone?
Hard.
Yeah.
I am a social being. I
Yeah.
get energy off of people. Um, and being alone and not being lonely
Mm,
was
mm.
was where I played, was where I played. And my triggers were the lonely. Like I would force myself to do something or make bad decisions or stay too long in a relationship or take the whatever was the thing that would satiate that because I
Yep.
didn't want to be lonely.
Yep. Yep.
I'm now in alone is I call it my, like before I called it my friends are gonna laugh because it was my incubator. I got a little apartment after I left, and I had this beautiful view of the entire Front Range, the mountains in Colorado, and I incubated.
Mm,
And it's when you incubate, when you go into that dark night place, alone is one of the best places to be for me
mm,
because I couldn't bypass, I couldn't get busy, I couldn't put all of my energy into that other person because I'd rather talk about you than myself any day. But
mm,
I had to be my own best friend. I had to be my own father.
mm.
I had to be my own mother.
Yeah.
I had to be, you just have to fill those roles for yourself in order to grow that inside of you.
Yeah.
And alone is refreshing now. It's rejuvenating now.
Yes.
And it will not be that fear that drives me into a bad choice, where
Yep.
before I was making pretty bad choices based on the fear of being alone, destitute, homeless, all those things, right? That one
Sure.
does when they're getting ready to make a choice that may be a big change, a big milestone for them, like a
Yeah.
divorce or anything. But for me, it
Yeah.
was divorce. That was a big one.
Yeah. Thank you for over these years letting me be, I don't know what the word is. You can maybe tell people straight and clear when I would see that particular wound start to creep up and watch you make these choices that weren't honoring to you because the aloneness was still too much. And I so respect you for sitting in the loneliness and integrating it. Because if you don't
Mhm.
integrate the loneliness, alone never becomes whole and nourishing and the mother and father of ourself, the parents of ourself. Like you let me niggle niggle until we sat in enough of this because the loneliness was there, but there were flavors of terror. What's going to
Oh, yeah.
happen? No one will ever love me. I'll never get another job. There was all sorts of stuff in there. Like
Oh,
the first
yeah.
layer was loneliness. And if I don't go anywhere near there, I won't go with what's under there. But we freaking have excavated everything. Well, maybe not everything. I'm sure tomorrow maybe we'll find something else, but same with me. We've integrated a lot, and we know how to integrate so that you have the capacity now, not to react, but to, as we say around here, allow all, resist nothing. And if we do that, we get home, and then we can respond. We can hear our intuition. We can hear the whisper of the divine, and we can make choices that are aligned with our deepest truth. So maybe we can complete with, what's it like to be coached by Allana and this community? And what would you say to me even about what is it like to be coached by me, or to go on this journey of depth, truth, ownership, bravery, surrender, all the things?
Yeah. I just feel held. And we just came off of our coaching call with other fellow coaches. And we often laugh that we're like, because we happen to be all women, but it's like we're the witches with that alchemy going on. I feel so safe, and I feel so heard, and this work that we do, that you allow in this companionship, or this cauldron, or this container that you hold so well, and you have for me for 4 years. I get to be authentically me, in the really crappy thing and the really good stuff and everything in between. And we show up and we work whatever's there.
Yep.
And sometimes feelings gets hurt in the groups, and sometimes people are just in a euphoria, but we hold that space, because humans are humans, humans are humans. We all have flaws, and we all have goodness. And the key is the journey. And you allow us to journey. So thank you for that. And we get all these tips and tricks along the way of how to do life a little deeper, a little bit more authentically, so that we can, in our own self, provide those containers to all of our people outside of this community, outside of my coaching with you. I have exponentially, I feel, gotten better and better with all the human beings in my life outside of this. And that, to me, is the true litmus test right there.
Thank you. God, I love to love you. And I love to be loved by you and the community, to be my hot mess when I'm a hot mess, to own my shit when I make a mistake, to clean it up, to take ownership, to grow, and to share how I grow, and then we all grow together. Thank you for the honor of being able to hold you and be held. I've always, I mean, not always, but I've joked that, like, you're going to be the president of the United States one day. And I don't mean that lightly, and I'm not attached, but I'd want to really end with an honoring of you, the capacity, the love you have for Mother Gaia, the expertise you've gained in working in the government for all these decades, an understanding of that, your consciousness, your honoring of the divine feminine, and the forgiveness of the toxic masculine, and the invitation of the noble masculine within yourself and within the country. I wouldn't be surprised one little bit if, yes, you consult for some years and you don't go back to where you were working, and you make some relationships. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if you went back in a leadership capacity. Yeah, now it's my turn to cry for this country, because you have that reach, that capacity. I think that's one of the reasons I love you, for so many reasons. I remember once being on a panel, Kristina, and there was a psychic on the panel as well. I was the intimacy expert. There was a psychic and a bunch of others. And she said, I did my little spiel, sitting down, I got up, I spoke, and then the cameras came on. They were recording my speech. And I sat back down, and the psychic said, did you see what happened to Allana's field when she was sitting on the panel? And then she stood up to speak, and her field got bigger. But did you see what happened when the camera went on? Her energy, not Allana's ego, her energy knew it was about to expand to whoever was going to watch that on the internet. She has a capacity to reach a lot of people. And it really helped me because my desires, as you know, is to do the docuseries. But I've always pushed it down. Oh, that's your ego. Oh, you just want to be famous. Oh, just stay small. But my design is to serve millions. And when I get my ego out of the way and I let the divine have its way with me, I know the docuseries will come. So you have a similar energy, a vessel through which many are meant to be served, inspired, healed, awakened. So I don't know what it's going to look like, but let's remember this day and feel into this moment where I see you. And I'm so grateful to know you. And thank you for doing all the work to be the most open vessel through which the divine can use you for a fuckload of fun and amazing impact. Yeah. And great abundance and deep love and fun with your daughters and all the things that you can imagine and beyond what you can imagine. I love you so much.
I love you too. Thank you for this.
Yeah. All right. Your last
Don't even
thoughts.
know what to say.
Well, just I'll do a little wrap up and then we'll toss it to you for your last thoughts. So, so viewers and listeners, this is friendship. This is sisterhood. This is two coaches. This is the blessing that I have of the quality of clients that I have such a privilege of coaching and loving and facilitating and guiding and mentoring and being inspired by. It's a figure eight. I keep growing from you and from everyone. Thank you. So if this resonates, if you would like to connect with me, I would love to connect with you. You can feel the depth of this work, the juiciness of this work, the truth, the honesty, the integrity of this work, and the results of this work. So there's something called an intimacy breakthrough experience on my site. So you can sign up for that. There will be a link in the show notes of this podcast so that you can have a scholarship, the Intimate Conversations Podcast Scholarship, so that we can connect and talk about what really matters. So I invite you to do that. And I will toss it over to you, girl, from your heart, from your sacred yoni, from the glorious vessel that you are. How would you like to complete this delicious conversation?
Yeah, the work works. And I am so grateful. I'm so grateful just to be alive and moving into enlivenment with you, with this community, and with every human being that wants to play and do this. Because I think when it comes down to it, excuse me, I think what people want more than anything is to be their best, biggest selves.
Yeah.
And for me, it's if we all do that, the little overflow that comes out of that will make the world a little bit better of a place to be. And if we can do that, let's play, let's go, let's have fun, and let's do it.
Yeah. Like on some calls, I say, take thy hand, place it on thy ass, and slap thy ass.
Yeah.
I love you. Stay on
Love
before
you.
I press the end of this. Thank you so much for being with us. And thank you for the honor of every single week here, loving the shit out of you here on Intimate Conversations. All my love. See you next week on Intimate Conversations. Get out there and make love to life. I just had this amazing conversation with Scott. We're sitting, like the ocean is like right there. We both go for walks separately because like he likes to run. I don't like to run, I like to walk. And my legs are longer than his legs, even though he's taller than me. So I walk faster. So even though we love to go for walks, if it's for exercise purposes, we go separate. But if it's for being together and having great conversations, then we go together. Just again, finding truth, finding what works to support the relationship in growing. And another thing is how we talk to one another and how we can do so, at least me, without asking questions that puts them on the defensive. From my point of view, I'm just being curious and trying to understand. But from his point of view, it's hard to receive and it's defensive. And from his point of view, when he
explains things, he's just trying to help me understand. But to me, it comes across as like he's justifying. So we're learning that our intentions are great, and our manner in which we communicate can be shifted so that the other one can receive each other, and we can stay, more love can flow, more connection can grow, and we're finding our way. So it's been, with this podcast with Kristina, I think you heard so many ways that she's learning to talk to herself differently, and create relationships that honor her romantically. Be brave and open to have an even greater way that she can impact this planet with her genius and her talents, which looks like leaving where she is and creating a coaching consulting business. She's an amazing coach. Oh my God, and working together, we can go so deep, so fast because of how much she's been trained with the Allana Pratt method processes. And she coaches my staff, and she's extraordinary. So I just love when people who do the work can play together, grow together, be together. Like we begin to finish each other's sentences. I just love this woman. So she doesn't know I'm going to do this, but like if you're a really cool dude and you're willing to go through the interview process of me to get to her, she's amazing. She's single. Who knows by the time you watch this podcast if she still will be, because she's a hot commodity. But you never know how you meet the one, right? You never know how you meet the one. Could be at a grocery store, could be online dating, could be watching a podcast. But if you're a phenomenal gentleman, quite enamored by Ms. Kristina, reach out and I will connect you. So that's my little call to action for her. And then more deeply, not necessarily more deeply, but personally for you, what I think matters the most to you, if you're watching this podcast in the first place, is deep intimacy. Safety to be yourself. Safety to be received as your truest self. Confidence to exude without apology your truth in the world, romantically, professionally. And if you're also feeling on the lonely side and wanting a community where we all own our shit, do the work, have each other's backs, celebrate each other, never judge each other, that safe, secure, weekly place. I have an intimacy breakthrough journey group, and I have an inner circle, and I also do the VIP PSI work with people. If this conversation, this work, this way of living feels good, then I encourage you to reach out. It's called an intimacy breakthrough experience. You'll book a call with me personally, and again, we'll talk about what really matters. We'll talk about what's in the way, the pattern that, no offense, but the only one in common with every single relationship you've had is you, just like me. We've got to be willing to, without judgment, without blame, without shame, own it, so that we can shift it, heal it, integrate it, process it, be free, be better, be more, and then take our best self into the world and watch that as the inside creates the outside, our relationships improve, our money improves, our health improves, our jobs improve, everything improves. Because how you do anything is how you do everything. So when we go to the core and integrate these wounds that I have the honor, privilege, and pleasure of going to the core and integrating with my beautiful clients, their entire life up levels. Their physical body, environmentally, mentally, emotionally, spiritual connection, vocationally, financially, parentally with their kids, but also with their aging parents, sexually, romantically. It all improves because it's the core of who you are, has up-leveled, ascended. And so you don't have to like work at it. It just effortlessly begins to, like a blossoming flower, unfold in so many extraordinary ways. So connect if this feels right as your next step on your intimacy and relationship journey. All right, we love you here. Thank you for walking this journey with us and for the blessing and privilege of allowing me to love the shit out of you.